The Motivation Manifesto by Burchard. This book is designed to help you find the motivation within. In my opinion, motivation is not an external source. It is not something that we find externally. We might be stimulated through external experiences or reading certain kinds of books or watching certain kind of videos. But what's really happening is we're connecting within ourselves and we're reflecting upon the experiences and the information we're consuming. It is stimulating certain kinds of deep core values and beliefs that we have at a deep level, and really deep psychological and spiritual elements within ourselves to help us realize that there are certain key areas that we need to focus on if we want to live a very meaningful and fulfilling life. We want to be able to create for ourselves certain kinds of successes so that we can experience life a certain way. We want to be able to contribute to the lives of others. We want to enhance the life of others because we are social creatures and we like working and creating success and happiness and joy in the lives of others. We get a lot of fulfillment doing so. And we want to strive for a higher purpose, a higher spiritual purpose, or a reason to contribute, or a feeling of contribution towards evolution of the species and the planet. Now, these are important elements that drive motivation. So I want to talk about this a little bit, and I'm sharing my insights and perspective from the book. I recommend reading the book to really get the depths of and magnitude of the different motivating factors and so forth. But let's talk about freedom. Freedom. We are all meant to be wild and independent and free, our hearts filled with a ferocious passion for life. The day is meant to be ours, and our purpose within it is to live as who we truly are and enjoy the full terrain of life's freedom as we chase our own meaning, purpose, and our own legacy. So we want to look within ourselves and create meaning, one that is going to bring us joy and happiness as we pursue it, one that we believe is going to contribute to the lives of others, and one that's going to live all throughout the ages, okay, making a big contribution to humanity or being a big contribution to the world. That's our legacy. And when we're on the path of creating various different kinds of, if you're an entrepreneur, product, services, or if you are doing whatever it is that you're doing, if you're making a contribution, you feel fulfilled. And it doesn't have to be something massive, and you don't have to go out and inspire millions of people. What you really have to do is reflect upon how what you are doing right now, the area that you contribute, is actually benefiting the lives of others and yourself, and you could use that as a platform to continue to build yourself up. The goal is self-realization. Okay, the discussion that I did on Yogananda's book, Autobiography of the Yogi, it's a very highly recommended read, as well as watching that video. It's very important. We are on a journey here of realizing about ourselves, our potentiality. And it's through studying and really understanding ourselves that we can understand others, and we can contribute, and we can find the meaning within ourselves. Now, one of the key things, as we mentioned here, is freedom. We want to be free. In business and entrepreneurship, we want to be able to create financial freedom. Or when you go out in the career world, you want to be able to earn a good amount of money so you can have a certain level of freedom to travel, freedom to have certain kinds of experiences, and so forth. You also want to have the freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want, and we don't like to be constrained by the opinions of others and what others tell us that we should and should not do. When you dig deep and we realize that we are good people and we connect to the goodness of who we really are, we start to really discover the meaning and what is important to us. And it's important to then choose the pursuit or the progressive realization of those worthy ideals and the vision that we have within ourselves to create it in reality, because it's in that process and actually creating it. So it's both creating it and being on the process of creation of whatever it is that we find that joy, that meaning, that motivation. Again, that comes from within. Every human has a natural inclination to ascend to higher planes of existence, but it rests upon each of us to match that inclination with real initiative. We must remember that freedom can only be achieved by diligent will and volition. So if we want to create freedom in our lives, We have to make a commitment to ourselves that we are going to do it. And there's a process, okay? First you start off with the vision, and I really like, and I always refer back to the Robert Dilts model. Okay, you start off with the vision, and then from there, you create an identity, or you go within yourself, or you do both of these, because it's very important, to reveal your deep identity, your level of self-esteem, your self-image. And a good book to read is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself and Psycho-Cybernetics, because this is really going to reveal who you are to yourself. And this is an ongoing journey. You reveal it through experience. And it's the self-image that you have that is governing your reality. If you see yourself as a person of high level of self-esteem and self-confidence, you're going to be more likely to boldly chase that vision. However, if you don't believe it's possible, then there's going to be some work that you have to do on ourselves. And that's okay, because this is also part of the journey. It's who you become. And then trickling down from there is your values and beliefs, how you believe reality to work. And fundamentally, do you believe the universe is a friendly place and in your favor or not? That's one of the core beliefs that we have to really work on if we want to create something in our vision. We have to see that the universe is actually in our favor and that we can do it, and there are different resources and people that can work with us to help us create that vision, that worthy ideal that we want. And then trickling from there is our capabilities, our core capabilities. What are the skills that you need to cultivate so that you can create the results? Because it's in the doing that results happen. And there are certain skills that we need to focus on, to really hone in on, to continuously develop so we can create our vision in reality. Then it's the behaviors, because it's the behaviors that influence the environment. And it's in the environment, the final level, where our vision is manifest. So all these things have to be in alignment. And when they are in alignment, we can create what we want. So it's huge and motivating to really take inventory of the various elements that make up all these parts in the Robert Dilts model, and then realize that by cultivating those, once you have that vision and mapping it out, cultivating it, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of growth. And the growth is going to reveal to you about yourself. It can be very, very stimulating. I know it is for me, because it's in the growth of those areas that you create more freedom. And every human has a natural inclination to ascend to higher planes of existence, but it rests upon each of us to match that inclination with real initiative. Okay, we have to take initiative. And so rising up to higher levels of existence, what does that mean? Well, a lot of talk, and I discuss this a lot, levels of consciousness. And that's why I always recommend reading any work by David Hawkins. And Power versus Force and Letting Go are two good books. I did a discussion on those. I recommend you watch the video. As we raise our level of consciousness, we start to be more stimulated and find more passion in life. We start to realize that it's more than just about ourselves. It's about who we are, our contribution to others, and evolution as a whole. And raising our consciousness, we become more aware, we become more present, we become more intentional on our living. We start to value our choice of words. We start to value what we put into our bodies. We start to value how we treat others, and we really value others, and we seek to understand than to be understood. And as a result of this, we have a heightened degree of awareness. We start to realize how things work. And this has multiple benefits. Number one being that obviously the more you realize how reality works, the more you can work with your realizations to create success, so you can create more freedom. Number two, you'll be able to impact and contribute to the lives of others, and thus bringing you more joy and motivation from within. And you'll contribute to your legacy. Okay, that's what this is about. Your purpose, your meaning, your legacy. If you contribute to your legacy and you are on purpose and you are creating meaning, because who says that you have to have the meaning that others give to whatever it is you're doing, whatever it needs to be done in relation to the Robert Dilts model? Because maybe some of that meaning is disempowering. What we want to do is we want to go within ourselves and we want to find the disempowering meanings, and we want to rewrite that meaning. Now, there's plenty of technologies and understanding of how the human psyche works to help us change meaning around. Good books to read is Man's Search for Meaning. Now, that book talks about, in the worst, arguably one of the worst scenarios a human could possibly be in, that individuals were able to find meaning. So that being said, just about any scenario that we experience in our lives in modern day towards creating success is a lot of times pale or tame in comparison to those kind of experiences that they had. So if they were able to do it, we could figure out a way to create the meaning, and that was documented in the book. And that's why I really like books like The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Think and Grow Rich, Psycho-Cybernetics, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, because these are important tools. Autosuggestion, as Napoleon Hill puts it, and I covered this extensively in my How to Program Your Subconscious Mind for Success training. These are tools that help you rewrite the meaning. And it's what's going to matter. What matters a lot is your meaning that you give to the various things that you do. Here's an example. A lot of people come up to me, or my coaching clients share with me about their lack of desire to do the things that they know they have to do to produce the results. And I remember listening to 21 Secrets of Self-Made Millionaire by Brian Tracy when I was in my 20s, like mid-20s. And one of the things that he said in there is, if you can discipline yourself to do what you have to do, whether you feel like it or not, your success is virtually inevitable. Now, this is the case. If you look at the Robert Dilts model and you set everything up and then you set up a plan and you go to work, you progressively realize this worthy ideal, eventually you should be able to create that success. And you will grow a lot in the journey. But a lot of times what prevents us from doing those things is the beliefs that we have surrounding whatever it is that is part of the behavior or the capability. And these ideas or these values or these beliefs that we have, deep identity level stuff, create this friction. Okay? We're not excited about what we're doing. We might find ourselves drifting, as Napoleon Hill talks about in Outwitting the Devil. Or we might find ourselves moving on to doing something that's easier and fun, but not actually going to help us create the results. Now, what I've learned in the journey is that you can change the meaning, and then you can grow to enjoy the things that you're doing. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, because they say, well, if you just kind of have to do this thing, then you can just force yourself to do it. And I think you can do that in the beginning. You can really, push yourself to do something. But I think a better way of looking at it is a long-term strategy of rewriting the meaning. And there's a lot of different ways of rewriting the meaning. One of my favorite ways of rewriting the meaning when I have to do something that I know I have to do, which is not something that I'm extremely passionate about, is I think about how it contributes towards my overall important areas outside of that thing. For example, let's say I don't feel like going to the gym in the morning, and when I get there, I'm not as focused on my workouts. I then realize that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I'm not going to be focused on my workouts, and I'm not going to really focus on each rep of each set and really make a diligent effort of doing so, then that's going to trickle over to when I'm doing my presentations, or when I'm doing my videos, or when I'm working with my clients, or when I'm in my personal life. Okay? How you do one thing is how you do everything. And to me, it's, I like to make sure I perform in those other areas as well. So by not practicing focus, presence in my workouts, I'm going to experience pain outside of it. And I really think about that. And then I say, well, I have an opportunity here. Plus, on top of it, I'm the one that always goes around and tells my clients and everyone in my life the importance of really having gratitude and valuing the opportunities and working diligently. And so this motivates me from both the positive and the negative side of avoiding pain and moving towards pleasure, to make the effort to be stimulated inside, to focus on my reps, to focus on my sets. And then there's a huge sense of accomplishment after the workout, a huge sense of accomplishment, which does trickle out to those other areas of my life that are important. Now, that's one way of doing it, okay? Linking, association, the thing that you know you have to do but you don't feel like doing, towards another goal, and overall developing core qualities that are required for success. And one of them is focus and self-discipline. So self-discipline and focus are key areas that are important to creating success. I remember one of my mentors back in the days, I asked him, because he created a very successful real estate empire and retired really young. I asked him, I said, what's the secret of success for you? Like, what is the things that drive you, or what are the pieces and components that you can share with me? And he says, look, there's no shortcut. It's just focus, hard work, and discipline. Focus, hard work, and discipline. So focus being, sticking on course, staying on course, recognizing when you're being distracted and putting systems in place to prevent the distractions, okay, having that self-awareness, which is part of the journey, which is cultivated through the journey, and the recognition that it's important and valuing it, so that you can actually put systems in place so you can maintain your focus, and developing your focus. Even doing things like meditation helps you with your focus. And he's talking about hard work. Now, he's really talking about doing the things, because one of the things that he was really good at, which he cultivated, is his ability to look for the best deals and also do the sales and the deal making and so forth. And repeatedly doing it over and over again, selling and just, doing these things that a lot of people are afraid of doing. We're going to talk about fear in a moment. He was able to cultivate those skills. And that's what he's talking about when he's saying hard work. But he was driven towards creating that success that he wants. He was motivated. So what might have appeared as hard work to another person was something that was actually stimulating for him. Now, in the journey of entrepreneurship, I'll use entrepreneurship as an example because I've had the same experience when I was in corporate. When I discovered that I had to cultivate certain capabilities and I had to focus on certain behaviors that might have seemed fearful or stressful that were required. If I didn't do those things, it wasn't going to produce the results. I started to keep doing it, just focus on it until the results started to happen. And then I evolved the perspective. I said, Man's Search for Meaning says that you can find joy, you can find meaning, you can find great happiness in the tasks or doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do. So I practiced doing it, and then I found myself actually enjoying doing the things that I didn't really want to do that I was forcing myself to do. And he was saying focus, hard work, and discipline. Okay, discipline is something, self-discipline, you've got to cultivate through practice. And thus, you got to look for as many opportunities, even at the gym, wherever you are, to practice self-discipline. Because when you practice it, this habit stays with you, and it applies to all the other areas of life that are important. And as a result of it, you can create more freedom in your life, which is very motivating. And number two is that as a result of doing this, and this is why in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill mentioned these things I'm talking about in the principles of creating success. It is only after cultivating these and doing it in a consistent manner that you are able to rise to higher planes of existence, higher levels of consciousness. You got to be willing to put in the work to be able to get there. It's not just a matter of saying, I'm just at a higher level of consciousness. You got to still do the things. It's important to be engaged mentally, conceptually, emotionally, get excited about it, creating that burning desire. And that's what we're talking about here in this book, as well as the various tools in the auto-suggestion chapter that Napoleon Hill shared to create that burning desire. And then physically, we have to do the things. We have to take action, and we have to be consistent. Next is fear. Fear was given to us as a motive to avoid physical harm and death. That is it. We're the ones who have perverted it into a tool for the ego's protection. Almost all the fear we experience today has nothing to do with physical threat. Now think about this for a moment. We live in a time today where there's tons of opportunity. Okay, just watch that video I did on Opportunity by Eben Pagan, and it'll really expand to help you expand your mind to help you see opportunity where you have not seen before. And this continues to increase. I see more opportunity now, viable business opportunity than ever before. And part of the reason why is because I keep myself submerged in the process of business building, entrepreneurship, and so forth. And as a result, just staying in there, you see more opportunity. And we're not talking about just great ideas that just seem great on paper. We're talking about viable, money-making, business building, real value contribution-based opportunity. There's more opportunity than ever before. The barrier of entry, to start a business nowadays, online, costs next to nothing. And the reach, to finding the audience, is far easier than ever before with social media and paid advertising at very affordable rates. And by applying focus, discipline to cultivating the capabilities so you can see your idea into reality, we can create success for ourselves. Now, in the process, we're going to encounter fears. We're going to encounter imposter syndrome. We're going to have fear of criticism. We're going to have fear of failure. All these things are going to show up. But you know what? That's all opportunities because we have to learn to work through those fears. And it's the repetition of doing the things that you have to do and cultivating the joy in doing those things you have to do that is going to transmute that fear into a positive, forward-moving action through repetition to create the results that you want. And it's legit to have fear surrounding harm and death, provided that it's legit, provided that it's a real fear. So fear is not a bad thing when you look at it, that it could potentially save your life. If you're walking across the street, you have a healthy fear when there's traffic zooming by to look both ways. We don't want to eliminate fears like that. What we do want to do is take inventory of the fears that we have, refer back to the Robert Dilts model, that are preventing us from doing the behaviors, cultivating the core capabilities. And this goes into identity level and the values and beliefs level, identifying what these fears are and putting systems and processes and exercises in place to consistently and persistently move through those fears. The only way to combat this thought pattern is to analyze it closely. So if you got any kind of fear-based thought pattern, you got to analyze it. You got to understand, reflect on it, work with someone to help you if you have a hard time doing this. But reflect on why you are having this fear, really. And ask yourself, can you really create the success you want unless you go through this fear? If the answer is no, you have to overcome that fear. And then you got to reverse it. Once we sense that we are anticipating loss, we must question whether or not it is true. Remember, it's the repetition, doing the thing we have to do over and over again. If it's fear-based, that is going to create the success that we want. It's the repetition that will help us rewrite that programming and create the result of whatever it is that fear is holding you back from doing. And Napoleon Hill dedicated a whole chapter. If you haven't watched my video that I did on a very lengthy discussion on Think and Grow Rich, I recommend you watch it. Whole chapter on fear and the different kinds of fears. And we really got to work to overcome those fears that aren't helping us. The first step is to understand motivation's root. Okay, motive, which means reason for action. It's the why we do something. So we've talked already very extensively about whys. To develop the motive for action, our mind, with or without conscious guidance, filters through various thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and chooses from them a set of reasons to do or not do something. Our mind's clarity on and commitment to that choice dictates our level of motivation. If we are clear and committed, we will feel high levels of motivation. If we are unclear or uncommitted, motivation will be low. This is why it's very important to consistently and persistently become clearer each day towards your vision. It's very important to, as James Allen said in As a Man Thinketh, to pick something, carve out a straight path towards its fulfillment, looking neither to the left nor to the right. Okay, very important. And you don't have to start with something grand. You can start with something small. That's why in The Strangest Secret, Earl Nightingale recommends doing a 30-day challenge. Okay, just taking the very simple instruction of creating one goal, reading it to yourself morning and night, and making commitment that you're going to focus on creating that one goal. Okay, just that one. It's not just about the goal. It's the exercise of taking a vision and creating it in reality and starting small and understanding the process by learning about yourself. You're going to discover all kinds of things about yourself when you set a goal and you move towards your goal. You're going to find your fears, your frustrations, your sticking points, the various capabilities you need to develop, the efficient and inefficient behaviors. You're going to identify the values and beliefs within yourself. You're going to determine within yourself identity level stuff when it comes to self-confidence and self-esteem that needs to be optimized. And that entire journey is going to reveal so much to you about yourself. One of the things that I do every day is I take notes about myself. I observe how I respond to various scenarios in all areas of my life. Because it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. And it's how you respond to it that reveals to you about yourself. As James Allen said, circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him to himself. So what is reality revealing to you? Is it revealing to you any negative or disempowering? Is it revealing to you your strengths? Is it revealing to you various areas of your life that are now opportunities that you might not have seen before unless you do something diligent like this, where you practice self-awareness every single day? And as you do this, you start to become clear. You start to realize different kinds of environments that you can place yourself in to cultivate. You can find yourself in environments that aren't necessarily stimulating you and really not bringing out the best in you, and you can make adjustments. All this stuff leads to clarity, and it starts by picking one thing and sticking with it all the way till the end, till you create it. And it's not necessarily just about the thing, as mentioned. It's about the journey as well. You have to learn the various different kinds of experiences that you have along the journey is the real education. That's where you're getting the wisdom. And it's about taking action. Okay? It's not just creating a vision and then not doing anything about it. It's taking the time to create that vision and making commitment to yourself that you're going to move and create that result and learning about yourself along the journey. Then, when you create that, you can move on to something bigger. And this is the process of life. Okay, repeating this process over and over again. Create a vision, go out there, learn about yourself, create the success in that vision, make that happen in reality, move on to something bigger. This is how you grow. This is how you evolve. This is how you contribute. And this is how you raise your level of consciousness. Now, in the book, he talks about these 9 declarations, but we're not going to get into all of them. I'm going to pull 3 that I believe are very useful, that really stood out for me, that I want to share with you. Number 1, we shall meet life with full presence and power. We shall meet life with full presence and power. Presence and power. Okay? Being in the now, being in the moment, having gratitude, and understanding that no matter where you are right now, you are in the best place to be to move you towards your vision. Okay, there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of insight in this moment, and perhaps one day when you acquire more wisdom, you can reflect back and realize that that opportunity was always there. But you don't have to look back with shame or regret. Realize that right now is the best time to get started. Too many have checked out of their bodies and their lives. They're not attuned to the energy and circumstances around them, nor do they understand their responsibilities to those things in this very moment. They have little awe or reverence for the blessings around them, acting as if they were preferring to be somewhere else, as if they were mentally living in distant time zones, hours behind or ahead of joyous tick and bliss of now. If you want to really find motivation, practice being present in the moment. You will start to have a greater sense of appreciation and gratitude for things in your life that you might have taken for granted, because you were always saying that the grass is greener on the other side, or I will be happy when I get success. The truth is this: now is the moment where everything you ever want exists. And it's what you do in the now, and your presence and your awareness in the now, that's going to reveal the next step to you. And by taking the next step, you move on to the next step and the next step, moving yourself towards the results, number 1. And number 2 is you enjoy the journey. And number 3, that deep meditative level of awareness for the now is going to help you understand what you are really motivated by. You are going to learn about yourself. If you're constantly wishing to be somewhere else, if you're checked out, you can't learn about yourself. And you're definitely not going to learn what's going to motivate you. And the idea behind this journey is realizing that there's going to be chaos, recurring crises that happen in your life. There's going to be times where you lose motivation. And then you want to refer back to the very things you've learned about yourself to get you back on track again. And that's going to be one of the important things that's going to help you create the success that you want. It's the ability to know yourself and know what motivates you that you've been practicing by being present and really taking notes and inventorying yourself. Being fully present in life not only means being observant and unfailing in addressing our realities, but also deciding to proactively choose our roles and behaviors each day. So one of the things that I enjoy doing and really been helpful for me is the morning routine and really being conscious and aware of the hours I put in at work and what I do outside of work. So really being conscious and aware and strategically and systematically blocking off my time to do the things that are important day by day, the behaviors, the capabilities, cultivation, and so forth. Realizing that I've got my time, I've got my energy, I've got my resources, I've got my opportunity costs, and I got to value these things. And there's no limit to how much I can value these things. And the more I focus on these things, the more petty kind of things that I used to think about before, anger, blame, and things like that had nothing to do with creating results, but rather a form of distraction, start to just fade away. They're no longer important to me. And the goal of valuing your time, energy, resources, and opportunity costs is not just to create success, but to grow, to evolve yourself so that you can have a more fulfilling and enriching and stimulating experience in your life. Because it's when you value these things that you can actually draw boundaries when you find yourself in situations where you're doing things you don't want to do just because you're trying to make somebody happy. It's by valuing those things where you consciously pick the things that you are excited and stimulated by, the things that bring out the most contribution outside of you or most contribution from within you. Each of these roles, observer, director, guardian, warrior, lover, and leader, is available to us at any moment. So we're going to talk about these roles. He talks about at any moment we're playing one of these roles, so it could be a blend. Should we be intent on activating them, we shall own the moment in ways we never imagined. Motivation will arise, life will come back, a vibrancy will emanate through our entire being. So if you want to increase our motivation, then we want to value these roles. Let's talk about these roles. The first role we play in our lives is observer or conscious viewer. This is the role and responsibility we are charged with through the gift of self-awareness. As observer, we can float above our reality and view the totality of who we are in life and the minutiae of how we are acting and reacting in the very moment. It is not a detachment from ourselves or the moment, but rather careful observance of it. Okay, this is something we have to practice, in my opinion, every day. Now, in earlier stages of life, this might be very predominant because you're learning. But I believe that we should never stop learning. In fact, we're learning all the time, so it's important to practice this. Number 2, the second role is the more proactive role as director, the conscious and intentional creator of our lives. If we can imagine life as a movie, then we can imagine ourselves as one directing each scene and character within it. The director calls all the shots and is the ultimate planner and authority on what each character is doing, why they are doing, and what they're going to do next. The director chooses where to focus the camera in each second of filming. The director makes well-reasoned choices about the character in order to shape a compelling and meaningful story. Third role, deserving our attention, is that of the guardian to our mind, body, and soul. We must stand at the gates of our lives and protect ourselves from unwanted contamination, negative information, people, and habits. So this is very important because we have our subconscious mind, which is predominantly in control of our reality. Okay, you manifest or you create reality or you do predominantly what's in your subconscious mind. You can be very conscious and say you want success or you say you want to get those results in health and fitness, but it's really your subconscious mind that's in the driver's seat. That's what's going to create the results, and whatever's in your subconscious is going to manifest. So thus, we want to protect our subconscious mind. In earlier stages, we were just constantly taking in information. We were learning from others, and we were just accepting information as it is. We'd leave the TV on, the radio, whatever information is just going into our subconscious mind. And then we get to a heightened degree of awareness, and we realize that we are a product of this information that's going into our subconscious mind. We look at our behaviors and how we believe reality to work and what we do and so forth, and we realize that it comes from past childhood experiences and so forth. And then we start to say, well, what if we start to change it? And then we start to feed ourselves good information. Then we notice our behaviors change towards the positive, and we influence the environment as a result of those behaviors, and we start to create more success. Then we start to really take this stuff seriously, and we start to remove any kind of disempowering negative information that is holding us back from creating our vision. And this is where the real power is. You are a net result of the programming that you have been taking in, either consciously or unknowingly, that has created you to be the way you are. And if you want to make yourself a certain way, and you see yourself being a certain way, then you have to consume certain information. You have to develop certain habits. You have to be around certain people that will cultivate that within you. And that's important. Guarding your mind. The next role is the warrior. Should we sit in our homes and find life wanting, then we must stand and venture out to fight purposely for something more. We must be bold, fierce, and unrelenting in chasing our dreams. We must push aside our fears, struggle with conviction, battle through all obstacles. We must want to win, to bring back treasures and glory to our homes, to leave nothing on the battlefields of life but the legend of our courage and might. And this is where you're going to be really motivated and stimulated. I always say actions create clarity. Well, actions don't just create clarity, they create the motivation, they create the passion, they create the joy. When you fail or you get rejected, you get stimulated and motivated to get back up and go again. And it's that falling down and getting back up that is going to really evoke that warrior in you, and it's going to create that burning desire to a higher degree, and you're going to be able to create the results that you want faster, easier, and with greater joy and passion. While on our quest, we must never forget who we're fighting for. There are people, so we're talking about the next, the lover. There are people who we care for and who we need, or who need us. No victory is sweet and no life fulfilling without someone to celebrate with and to care for. And so let us master the role as a lover. Lovers have a stunning capacity for shining attention and adoration onto others. They take a vital interest in others so that they may understand them, care for them, and contribute meaningfully to their lives. They communicate from the heart and seek to enlarge the heart of those around them by giving them respect and empathy. We will be very motivated to do what we know we have to do, the vision that we want to create, when we realize that others are dependent on it, or others are there in our lives, someone who's really special to us, or whoever, our children, our families, and so forth, will be able to share that experience with us. This can be very motivating. And finally, there are men and women counting on us and looking to our example. They await our direction and action. We owe it to them to be outstanding in our role as a leader. So these are the areas that motivate us, the various roles. We have to value them because they exist every single day. I don't believe that it's just one to the next and next, linear like that. These roles show up in different parts of our day. And we have to step into those roles and really own those roles and really value those roles, because it's in understanding that they exist and living them and valuing them and connecting them back to our vision that we start to tap into even more motivation. Next, we shall defeat our demons. As we gain greater presence and purpose in life, we become more attuned to our vitality and strength. We also become more aware of the profound ways in which we limit ourselves. We come to realize that our thoughts, more so than our circumstances, sabotage our freedom and success. We're the ones who allow our insecurities and fears to grow into the tidal waves of worry that wash our dreams away. We're the ones who constantly delay our own progress, quitting just as the hour demands courageous action. We're the ones separating ourselves from others so that we needn't risk real connection, or so that we can feel better than them. The truth is this: you become what you think about. The thoughts drive your emotions, and your emotions get you into a place where you move into action. And it's that consistent nurturing of those thoughts that program the subconscious mind. And it's that programming of the subconscious mind that is really going to help us move forward or limit us. So we really have to go within ourselves and ask ourselves, what are our limiting beliefs? Take inventory of them and go to work on them. And this limiting beliefs are our inner demons. The way I like to look at reality, and this might be very polarizing for a lot of people, but I found it to be very useful, and I share this with my clients, coaching clients and consulting clients, is to believe that in reality, everything is within our favor, and we have within our mind a sparring partner. Okay? And this sparring partner essentially wants us to create success. However, the sparring partner manifests theater in our lives that we play with others and circumstances to reveal to us about ourselves, our weaknesses. Okay? We have negative outcomes, failure, rejection, whatever. And what the sparring partner does is manifest this. Think of it as like, a projector in your mind, projecting it into reality. And as a result of what we see, we could have a conscious choice of what we do with that information. We could either blame somebody else or look at it from a negative perspective, or we can say, thank you, sparring partner, for revealing this about myself. I'm going to go to work on this. And the sparring partner will continuously give you more and more challenge. It will continuously reveal to you about yourself. And it was on your side this whole time. Okay? The whole time it was on your side, except you didn't make peace with it. And it is you. It is yourself. Now, when you look at reality this way, there's a lot of interesting things that start to happen. You're less likely to blame people. You're less likely to blame circumstances, because you realize that it's just a projection of what's going on within yourself. And this sparring partner, the inner demon, you could say, was actually helping you. Now, the reason why I like this philosophy is because I don't want to believe that there's some kind of negative thing within me that has power over me. It has power over me in the positive that it is supporting me. Now, in certain circumstances, it's going to be a lot more challenging to hold on to this belief. But there are many circumstances by adopting a belief like this, and this is just one that I have, where it can really help you get through the hump. And the more you practice this, the more you start to realize that, yeah, a lot of times you are holding yourself back. And when we overcome these areas that we were holding ourselves back, we actually do the behaviors and we start to create more success. Doubt wakes up when the strive for anything new or better. When there's a strive for anything new or better. Let's talk about doubt. It recognizes that in moments when our ambition rises, its very existence is in peril. For should we rise to accomplish our goals with confidence again and again, then it might be destroyed. So one of the ways you could say your sparring partner manifests challenges is by giving you doubt. You can look at a circumstance as an opportunity, and then all of a sudden you feel doubt towards it. And without actually applying some critical thinking and really checking in with yourself, your intuition and so forth, we accept that doubt as fact and we don't take the action. And as a result, we stay where we are. Now, there's a great video called Terror Barrier or something like that, and it was a talk that Bob Proctor did. I'm going to put a link in the description. I recommend watching that video over and over again. See, it's the doubts that are manifested that keep us in the current paradigm that we're in. And what we want to do is we want to change our paradigm, which is just a multitude of different beliefs, to that which is in alignment with the success and the vision that we want to create. Because the truth is this: you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So you have to become first so that you can attract it and keep it in your life. You might be able to force and willpower your way to attract something in your life, and then all of a sudden you aren't able to keep it because you can't hold that fakeness. You can't hold that position because it takes too much energy. If you evolve within by changing your paradigm, by doing these things we're talking about, then that reality is yours. It's rightfully yours. It's where you belong. You are at home over there. The great sages have taught us that when doubt has a hold on us, only faith can tear us from its grasp. Faith is a deep conviction, a global trust, a confidence in our beliefs about what is true. The conviction comes from choice. We choose to believe something and hold on to that belief tightly, even in the face of so many unknowns. When we have faith, we can endure sadness or suffering or loss and keep our wits about it, knowing that eventually these things shall pass and good things will return. We have faith when we believe in our capabilities to succeed. Again, Napoleon Hill dedicated a whole chapter in Think and Grow Rich on faith because it's very important. Faith is something we have to practice. And when you have a vision, you got to practice faith. Everything you do in life is an opportunity to practice more faith. You can have more faith. How do you know when you're living in faith? Well, my view is when you are mentally, emotionally, and physically congruent towards the action and the thought and the feeling, and you're moving forward towards the vision with confidence, presence, power, warmth. That's when you got faith. And if you're not doing that, there's opportunity to cultivate faith. And I haven't met a single person on this planet that has mastered faith. Okay, perhaps you'd be an enlightened being, highest level of consciousness, if you are always living in faith. However, if you are living in far more faith today towards the vision that you have, you are living a lot more motivated, you're a lot more happier, and you are creating your results, okay, part and whole. Because it's not just about the end result, it's all the little results that you get, the little wins you get along the way. When you got faith, you're in alignment mentally, emotionally, and physically, and you're moving towards the result. So we have to practice faith. Okay? When you create a vision, a bold vision, and you say, this is what I'm going to create, doubts might show up. And there's your opportunity to practice cultivating faith. We have faith when we can endure sadness or suffering or loss and keep our wits about it, knowing that eventually these things shall pass and good things will return. We have faith when we believe in our capabilities to succeed. Now, in my subconscious mind training, I talk about lightheartedness. You're trying to practice and really focusing on carrying yourself with everything you do in your business and whatever you do, whatever success you're trying to create, to the highest degree of lightheartedness. Now, it's going to be challenging in some situations. In some situations, it's going to be relatively easy. But it's that lightheartedness, okay, that just kind of going through it, knowing that you have to do it, where you're exercising faith, okay, seeing that, okay, I've had the circumstance show up. How can I be more lighthearted about it? If you're dealing with someone a little bit more difficult, how can you practice being more lighthearted? It's that lightheartedness that also cultivates faith. Because remember, we're talking about congruence, mentally, emotionally, and physically. The reason why you're doing that thing is because you have faith that it's going to move you towards your results. Now, emotionally, you have to also get involved with that. And we have to be aware of our lightheartedness or lack of. If its brother doubt breeds uncertainty and it's a whiny song of concern, delay engenders real terror. When it strikes us, it feels as if something is ramming its head into our chest. A delay thumps us and screams at us. Its calls resonating throughout our very cells. So you have doubts, and another manifestation, you can say this is your sparring partner, is the little stories about how you should delay taking that action. And what we're really doing when we're giving into that is we're encouraging that behavior. We're encouraging that habit. And the more we encourage habits like that, the more it gets wired into our neurology. It becomes just the way we live. Now, one of the things that we need to make sure that we do if you're on the pathway towards creating success, especially if you're an entrepreneur, is you got to be able to learn how to take action really fast. Get an idea and act upon it. Train yourself to, as soon as the idea shows up, you think really quick about it and you move into action right away. All right? And you got to train that. Now, someone might say, well, don't you have to really think through stuff? Well, I believe in diversification. Some things you got to think through, and some things you got to practice taking action on. And what you really want to do is you want to break that pattern, because that's going to make you a well-rounded entrepreneur. The things that need to be moved on, you'll move really fast. And the things that need careful analysis, you'll legitimately do careful analysis on it. Takes practice. Now, love is always the final and most complete cure to our inner demons. Now, think about that for a moment. When we're talking about sparring partner, isn't that really having love for yourself? And Steve Jobs said, you have to find what you love. This is as true for your work as it is for your lovers. There's a reason why. It's when you love what you do, when you have this deep passion for the results, the vision, really love it, you're going to do all kinds of things subconsciously to make it happen. Subconsciously, as I mentioned this earlier, we are a lot more capable of creating something subconsciously than we are consciously capable. We have the wisdom, we have the experience, we have the knowledge buried deep in our subconscious. And when you got love for something, you're going to do all kinds of things that you never thought that you would be able to do. And finally, we shall inspire greatness. Each of us serve as a living example to others. Our character and conduct can cast either a bright glow of greatness and service to the far corners of influence, or a shadow of smallness and selfishness to the unfortunate few nearest us. You have to be the example. A lot of people want to transform others and change other people's lives and create success in other people's lives and lead others and do these things. And those are very noble goals. And the way to do it is by taking action on these things we're talking about, by applying it, by actually disciplining yourself to do those things, to cultivate the skills, to do the right behaviors, to practice this stuff diligently over and over again until you create success. And success will always increase. But what you'll notice is that people will start coming up to you and they'll ask you, how do you do that? And then something interesting happens. You now become a leader, genuine leader. You're not trying to lead others because you want to feel that sense of power and control that you have over others. You're not trying to be admired and looking for that admiration or validation, but rather you have been risen up to the position of leadership. People are coming to you and say, lead me. And it's your being, it's your actions that's really going to drive the words and the energy that you communicate from to inspire them into action. But that all is a net result of being, which is why I always say in these videos, I say, look, it's important to do 80% action taking and 20% learning. Don't flip it the other way around. Spend most of the time studying and learning and watching videos and reading and taking very little action. That is not the way you produce results, and that's certainly not the way that you lead others. You don't lead others by just talking, and you'll just come off as somebody that is just a person that doesn't understand, because people know when somebody has produced results. They can tell. And so thus, congruence, as we talked about with faith, is very important. And it is our role and responsibility to instill faith in others. And the only way to instill faith in others is to live in faith. That means you take this information and you apply it. As we seek more influence and attempt to change the world, we will draw more attention to our lives. Okay, this is by being. This should inspire us to care about being a role model and motivate us to right our lives. If we are to be solid from our collaborators, let us be solid for our families. If we want people to have energy for their tasks and duties, then let us take care of ourselves so that we are their inspiration. There is no great philosopher or leader who has not taken care to remind us that we must be the change we seek in the world. And that is a huge driving factor. If you want to influence, if you want to create results, if you want to authentically lead others towards a positive result, you have to be living the philosophy. You have to be doing the things. And you have to focus on that and make that the higher priority. If you want a copy of the mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.